We are now in day 4 of this conflict between the United States and Israel and Iran. So this is Lisa's story. Lisa's working on. Lisa, I know things are developing and changing, but can you tell us so far as how things
Well,
stand?
Antwan, it's very clear that this war is escalating. The military strikes are increasing in number. There have been hundreds so far. And what they're saying, the U.S. Central Command, the military command, that they are hitting strategic sites. With, for example, the Iran Revolutionary Guard, their main facilities where their leadership was, a lot of their communications equipment, that type of thing. And these strikes have been happening. Now, what's happened, though, this morning that's very concerning to a lot of people is Iran, according to the U.S. military officials, has been using mobile missile launchers. And one of the reasons that President Trump, as well as Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said, one of the reasons they wanted to take this action now is because of Iran's increasing capacity for these long-range missiles. So they're using them to strike various targets. One target that was hit was a UK military base that was on the island of Cyprus. Now the UK is being drawn into this. They are sending a warship to Cyprus to protect their interests there as well. Also, Iranian missiles hit the American embassy in Saudi Arabia. So now Saudi Arabia is considering what level of involvement they'll have.
Right.
And then also, of course, this is so close to Europe. I mean, Iran is a country twice the size of Texas. It's about 100 million people. It's a very large, so that's about a third the size of the United States in terms of population. There's a lot of concern about that, like its close proximity to Europe, because remember also too, you have tens of thousands of people in the Middle East who are trying to leave their homes in order to get to a place of safety, especially now as U.S. commanders say these Iranian missiles, these mobile missiles, they're just basically firing them off whenever they can, wherever they can. So there's a lot of concern about that. So that's causing flight issues in terms of Europe and also, but particularly right now, out of the Middle East. But what happened this morning that we want to pay close attention to as well is the German Chancellor Friedrich Merz met with President Trump at the White House. And up until now, he's been very neutral about his position on this military action against Iran. But we have some sound from President Trump after that happened. Let's take a listen.
See, we were having negotiations with these lunatics, and it was my opinion that they were going to attack first. They were going to attack. If we didn't do it, they were going to attack first. I felt strongly about that. And we have great negotiators, great people that do this very successfully and have done it all their lives very successful. And based on the way the negotiation was going, I think they were going to attack first.
And President Trump saying that, he's also basing that on, too. Remember a while ago, last year, the U.S. attacked that nuclear site in Iran.
The bunker buster.
The bunker buster.
Right.
And the president said that basically destroyed it and rendered it ineffective. What he said over the weekend and other administration officials have said is that, and a lot of it came out, as you know, it's coming out in bits and pieces, and we're kind of weaving this all together to make a coherent story for everybody and narrative so we can follow what's going on. He said that since that bunker buster incident, that Iran decided to build the nuclear facilities underground, and that they were building this vast network of underground facilities, which of course would be immune. They think, who knows what the technology would be down the road, but that would be a lot much harder for America or any other country to destroy. So that was one of the concerns. He said that was the problem. The nuclear capability was actually increasing, that they had clear intention of using it. They're also concerned about these long-range missiles that Iran has, which we've seen already some of the damage that has happened. Some of them landed in Jerusalem as well. In Israel, many people in Israel reportedly in their bunkers, to try to escape whatever could happen, even though the Iron Dome did intercept a lot of them. But
Lisa, what can you tell us about the death tolls? What are you hearing about information about the death tolls?
Right. Well, the U.S. military deaths still stand at 6. That's what we know so far. But remember, also the timing is different, too. They're on a much different time zone than we are. And also, while this active bombing is going on, in terms of the Iranian death toll, the Red Crescent, which, as you know, Antwan, is the Red Cross agency. It's a humanitarian agency.
Right.
In Muslim countries, they call it the Red Crescent because of their faith. They say that over 760 people have been killed in Iran as a result of this, hundreds more injured. So we're waiting to see. And the military leaders have really tried to couch this as not as targeting specific military targets. Of course, it's not, no matter how exact the technology is, there can also be unintended targets.
Right.
But this is what they're saying. And then the other thing that we heard from the president also in the last day, and also other administration officials, the president saying this is, basically like, wait till you see what comes next, that the main surge has not even happened yet. And you're talking about hundreds of airstrikes. You're talking about dozens and dozens of targets that they've hit. And military officials, analysts say, tell us that they basically have a list of targets. It's like if they're going, the NYPD is going out with a warrant squad, they've got a list of people
They
they
do
got to
not
pick
make
up.
it up.
They go right down. Everything's been researched. They have timing. There's also been a tremendous, which I'm sure we'll hear more about in the days and weeks to come. There's also been a tremendous resource with the Israeli military intelligence and with the intelligence that they have on the ground of saying, for example, we saw the Ayatollah, the supreme leader, was one of the first people killed. And then apparently this morning, there was word that Israeli forces that they had attacked a place where the leadership, the remaining leadership of his regime, was meeting to pick his successor, and that area was bombed, that specific location. That was by Israeli forces. So it's a very, very specific thing. This isn't just a case of let's bomb and take out the top person and then see what happens next. What they're doing is it's a very multi-pronged approach. It's a very in-depth approach, very surgical precision,
Deliberate.
going after who would be the successor in the same line of oppression that has terrorized the Iranian, the Iranian people for so many years.
We know reaction here is strong, particularly on Capitol Hill. We know that there have been protests in support, in opposition. All of these things come into play when there's a situation like this. The Department of Homeland Security, you hearing anything from Kristi Noem or
Yes,
what's going on with
absolutely. And thank you for asking about that. Kristi Noem was actually at a Senate hearing before the Senate Judiciary Committee. She was there specifically to talk about ICE, to also talk about DHS funding, which is on a big part of it is on pause right now because of disagreements over the bill. The Congress wants more oversight. They want more training of ICE agents, that type of thing. But she was also asked about Iranian sleeper cells here in the United States. And she said that they're working closely with the FBI. They're taking a second look. They know that during the Biden administration, there was very little vetting. There were a lot of people that were allowed in. Not everybody that got here illegally was deported. But she basically said that they're working with the FBI. They're going back through people who may have had questionable entry status and who may have had any type of allegiance with any terrorist organization or any suspicious activity whatsoever. So they're going through that. They're not just, the military part obviously is a big piece of this Operation Epic Fury, but there's also a huge intelligence operation that's going on. You have the FBI involved. You have the NYPD Joint Terrorism Task Force with the FBI and with other federal partners keeping a close eye. And I think too, it's a lot of people think, we see the bombings, we just feel the whole vibe is very much like after 9/11. And we have to keep in mind too that the technology has increased like substantially, like a millionfold.
Totally.
And also the networking between the intelligence officials. We saw a bomb plot here that was thwarted where the tip went to an Israeli organization that was monitoring chatter in Britain. They knew what was happening here in New York, and then NYPD and the FBI here were able to apprehend these two suspects before they shot up a synagogue.
Lisa, I want to ask you something because you've been a journalist for a while, but for people who may not understand what kicks in situations like this and how you're trying to stay on top of information, I know because I've either been there or I've heard you or one of our colleagues behind, but walk everybody through because literally you're getting texts from the station before you even walk out the door. So just walk us through, trying to stay on top of a story like this to the degree that you are, because you are on.
Well, it's not just me. It's a team.
See, she's getting an alert now.
It's a team. I'm just looking for any alerts. Phone calls afterward. I'll call everybody back later on, whenever. It's not just me. It's a team effort. We have a tremendous team here at Fox 5. We have the affiliates, with the network. We have a lot of different resources. We have producers. We have writers. We have assignment people. We have managing editors. We have our colleagues like ourselves. Because I think the other thing too, it's always the flow of information. Like, where can you get it? People are reporting vastly different things. I've seen some things and heard some things on other networks and other other outlets where I'm like reading that and going like, I mean, come on, if that was the truth,
Right.
everybody would have been doing that. So we're going with obviously verified sources. We're going exactly with what did the president say, what did the Defense Department say, what
What
are
we
members
can
of Congress saying,
confirm, right.
that we can confirm.
Right.
And then if it's something on sources where people are saying, hey, here's a tip, this is what's, this is what's going on, that has to be verified by at least two independent, non-related individuals with direct knowledge of the situation. So it's not, it's a constant thing, and it's one of those times, Antwan, as you know, where you can't afford not to take a phone call.
Absolutely.
Even though I just did, but it's except when I'm on the
She
air.
silenced it though. She
But you know what I'm saying? So it's something like you have to get the information, and I would caution people too. It's like anything that's future forecasting, we have to be very careful about. One thing we do know also, we want to make a point about this too, because I have family members traveling right now, and that is the travel. There's tens of thousands of people trying to get out of the Middle East right now that are in these affected areas. You're talking about Saudi Arabia. We're talking about what happened in in other countries there that are not used to being on the front line the way that Israel is, or used to being on the front line where there's constant threats.
Right.
And so it's important for people to understand that the travel right now from the Middle East, there's tens of thousands of people trying to get out, and also as if this conflict spreads geographically, we're talking about Cyprus now, we're talking about the Eastern Mediterranean area. As this conflict increases, any of these areas, the airspace above those areas is going to get frozen too. So if you're talking about something in Cyprus, and then the UK is launching anything, if they end up doing that,
Right.
from there, and besides the battleship that they sent there to be right outside as a deterrent, I'm sure as a first warning.
But the footprint expands, like what
It
you're saying.
expands,
It expands.
and then you see the reverberation. I mean, we've talked to you many times when you've been at the airports where a storm could shut things down. So you're talking about a huge number of
Trickle
people
down, yep.
and influx. You also don't know. I mean, I would assume too, just from past experiences and past incidents that we've seen, the people coming back into the United States or coming to the United States, the credential check is going to be extremely tight. It may take longer. There's going to be more people if you're traveling internationally. So I would say that's something to definitely think about at this time, especially when you have the President of the United States. And one thing about President Trump, even people who don't like him or don't agree with his policies, they say he always tells you what he's going to do. He's saying that the worst has not yet happened yet in terms of this Operation Epic Fury. And also the other thing too, Antwan, we should point out, this has been in preparation for a very long time, because when the Trump administration came into office, the military reserves, the military recruitment, the very equipment, even these 1.5 millimeter bullets that they have to use for these machine guns,
Right.
all of these types of things, they were in low supply, low stock. And the president, took a lot of criticism for trying to get that prepared. We said, look, we just have to bring these things up to basic level, and now we're seeing why, because our troops are out there, and we're all praying for them.
We were showing video of gas prices, or just
That's another
pumps,
right. An
things
oil
like that.
refinery
And
was
oil
hit.
refineries, because we know that was hit, and then we also know there's a trickle down with that. Jonah, one more time, because we also have information about how this conflict, even though it's only 4 days, is starting to impact the prices at the pump. AAA is already reporting the average price of gas has jumped. What are you hearing?
Jumped 11 cents. They're saying jumped 11 cents a gallon. I know when I looked over the weekend and filling up, and I'm like, going, God, this is like $2 and something. This is unbelievable. I don't think it's ever. I could never remember it being that low. But an oil refinery was attacked by Iranian missiles. And so that's going to have a trickle effect too. And remember, again, we saw this during the pandemic shutdowns and COVID too. It's like as the oil prices increase, then we see the increases on the store shelves.
Right.
We also see the availability of certain products. We're not there yet, and hopefully we don't get there. But it's clear that Iran is going to go out in they're going to do everything they can to try to disrupt this Operation Epic Fury, as we're seeing now with these mobile long-range missile launchers.
Lisa, I know you're on a short window. Jonah, before Lisa goes, can we just take a look at the boards for the stocks? Because we also want to talk about that, because that's also something Lisa's been monitoring as well, trying to keep her eye on what the Dow and all of that is looking like and how it's opening and where things right now. You see look at it now, it's just dropped.
Right, and then the major impact Wall Street, the stock market opened with a massive 880 point drop this morning. Right now, the Dow's still down about 800 points. S&P 500 and the Nasdaq also seeing sell-off so far today. So
All in reaction to what's going on.
what's
there.
going on there. Wall Street does not seem to be very happy with Operation Epic Fury right now.
Lisa, as always, you're all on top of everything. She's
Thank
got
you.
so many different parts that she has to stay on top of. That's why I wanted to make sure that everyone understood, how
Thank
it
you.
all works, because there are a lot of pieces to try to put together just to make sure that A, what we're sharing with our viewers is in fact accurate information, and B, that we also know. But to Lisa's point, whether it's the assignment desk or our producers or any of our managers, there is absolutely, she could hear 3 things from the same person, from a different person on the same subject, because we just want to make sure that that information gets to where it needs to go.
Right,
So,
exactly.
can't thank you enough for being with us.
Thank you. And Antwan, can I just say one more thing
You-
too? It's like, we
say
have
2 more things. Are you kidding me?
The NYPD is on high alert. Today is the Jewish holiday of Purim, and so you'll see a lot of presence of the police officers around the synagogues, around the Jewish cultural institutions, and a lot of other public areas as well. And remember that, it happened after 9/11 with a see something, say something.
Yes.
We've kind of become, I feel, and you're out in the field a lot too, reporting as well. We've become kind of blasé about seeing like a bag that looks kind of funky over in the corner, and
Right.
because we've had so many homeless on the streets, and they'll just leave stuff, or they'll leave a shopping cart that's got boxes in it,
Perhaps a coat or
a
a
coat,
blanket
or like a
something
big,
that's
or all
covering-
these
right.
bags of cans and stuff. And we really have to understand too, which President Trump pointed out, is Iran, the regime they were notorious for these IEDs, that are
Yes.
improvised explosive devices, very simple to build and put in a package. So if you do see something on a subway, you do see a package or whatever, it costs you nothing to call 311 when you get out and say, hey, there's a suspicious package. If it's, if there's anything like steam coming out of it, or smoke, or anything like that, or
Weird
sound,
smell,
weird smells
smell,
too.
yeah, strong
Obviously,
smell that's
you need to
not-
let them,
right.
need to let somebody know. And there's a lot of cops now in the subway system, luckily, and so you can let them know right there too. But that's a very important thing, because I feel like our alert level, we're kind of like, oh well, people leave stuff like that around all the time.
Be a little
but,
desensitized.
yeah.
No, absolutely.
So we need to be
right.
careful about that.